Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishnayos Kesubos, Parakeh, Chapter 5, Mishna Gimel, Mishna 3. Okay. Hayavam Eino Machol B'Truma. A Yavam does not feed his Yavam Truma. So we're talking about a situation, a man died without children. His wife now falls for Yibam to his brother, which means that his brother or his brothers, they have a mitzvah of Yibam to marry her. If they don't want to marry her, they do. Then one of them does. If one of them wants to do yibam, he does yibam. If no one wants to do yibam, then one of them does chalitza. Now here the discussion is we've been talking about, there's an arusa that arusa can be fed truma under certain circumstances, as we learned previously. If the 12 months of getting ready for the chuppah have passed. The chassan, the husband, is not ready yet. So the Mishnah previously said before that now he supports her, and he can even feed her truma because of the fact that at this point of time he separates her from his family when he supports her. Now the Mishnah is going to discuss a yavim. Does the connection that a woman has to her brother-in-law to be married through yibam, what ramifications does that have regarding eating truma? So we're talking about a Kohen died without children. His brother's a Kohen now. His wife, his widow, is now bound to his brother, who is a Kohen, for Yibam. So at this point of time, when she is waiting for Yibam to happen, what is her status regarding Truma? Says the Mishnah makes a statement. Hayavim eina macha b'truma. A Yavim does not feed Truma to his Yavama before he marries her. Okay? Which, as I just elaborate down here, the Kohen's widow is biblically forbidden to eat truma during this time, although the Yavim is a Kohen. So, we're talking about the Kohen's widow. She was eating truma based on the fact that she was married to a Kohen, but that Kohen died. She is now waiting for Yibam from her brother-in-law who's a Kohen. At this point of time, according to Torah law, there is nothing that allows her to eat truma. She's not married to this person yet. She may have a connection to him, but she's not married to him. And her connection is not like a connection of an arusa. An arusa is married. They just have to complete the marriage through chuppah to be able to live together. But here at this point of time, this woman waiting for Yibam, she is bound for Yibam. She's bound for Yibam marriage, but she's not married to him. Now, the Mishnah continues, elaborates on this. Now, we also know that the mitzvah of Yibam applies. Let's say the husband dies before chuppah. She was an arusa. She was an arusa to a Kohen, or to anybody, an arusa whose aris, her husband dies, even though they didn't go to chuppah. There's a mitzvah of Yibam there too. So in this case, what we have here is we're talking about where the kedushin was made. The husband asked her to get ready. She asked him to get married, to get ready. The 12 months have begun. The 12 months of preparation for both of them have begun. And actually, what happened was that he died in the middle. So, she did 6 months, 6 of the 12 months she did in front of the husband, meaning while the husband was still alive. And the other 6 months she did in front of the Yavim, meaning waiting for Yibam. That's how these 12 months have passed. Or, Vafilu kulan b'fnei habal. Let's say the entire 12 months were by the husband, other than one day in front of the Yavim. Meaning the husband died the day before the 12 months were over. Which means that the vast majority of the 12 months was by the husband, by the aris, and there's one day that she's waiting for Yibam. Let's say the opposite way. All of the days, all of the 12 months were her waiting for the Yavim, other than one day that she was waiting for the husband, meaning the husband died after the first day of the 12 months. So even though we said previously that by 12 months she is fed, she is now supported by an aris, by the person who did erisin on her, here, eino chelas b'truma. Here she's not eat truma. Although she had been an arusa to this man's brother, right now he's dead. And the only thing left here is the Yavim. And therefore, no matter, even though there was already a period of time that she was, she was mu'ureses to her husband. She was in the process of the preparation. The amount of time preparation passed, which under circumstances of an arusa, we would say the arusa is supported by her husband, and he can even feed her truma. Over here, where what's left at the end is the yavam she does not eat truma. Now, on the bottom, they bring down here from the Bar Tanura that although the Mishnah gave us examples when she was never married, gave us examples of that she had never been married to her first husband. The examples are examples where she was mu'uresa, she never went to the chuppah with the first husband. The same halacha applies. Let's say she married this guy. She went to chuppah. She married him. She was married to a Kohen. The Kohen died. And now she felt Ibram to his brother, who's a Kohen. Does she eat truma? The answer is no. Because at the end of the day, there is no husband that feeds her truma. The only thing left is a yavam. And the yavam connection is not enough to be able to feed her truma. Okay, so that's the first half of the Mishnah. The next half of the Mishnah goes back to what we said before. We're not talking about Kohen anymore. We're not talking about the case of we're not talking about Ibam anymore. We're going back to what we said previously. Zu Mishnah Rishona. This was the first teaching. That which we just said, that after 12 months, she is supported by him and he can feed her truma, that was the first teaching. That's when the Chacham, the sages of the earlier generation, permitted a woman to eat truma when the time of her wedding arrived. Bezdin Shalachareim Amru. But the rabbinical court that came after them said, meaning the sages of the later generation said, a woman does not eat truma until she goes to the chuppah. Even if the 12 months have passed and the aris has to support her, if she is a mu'uresa, she's betrothed to a kohen, she will not eat truma until she goes to the chuppah. Even though he's supporting her in a separate place, at the end of the day, she cannot be given truma to eat. She cannot eat truma, even though according to what we said before, halachically there should be no issues with her being able to eat truma. She is mureses. We're not talking about a yavam anymore. We're talking about a regular mureses, and she separates, so there's no more issue of her feeding anything to her family. Nonetheless, the later sages decreed that she does not eat truma until she enters the chuppah. Why did they do that? So I'm going to read to you here from the bottom by the notes. If a husband finds out that his wife has a serious physical defect, which he had not been told about, he can claim that the marriage was held under false pretenses. The marriage is nullified retroactively and no divorce is required. It is as though the marriage never took place. There are situations like that, where later on he found some kind of a physical defect that he can really claim, I never would have married her if I would have known about it. The sages of the later generations were concerned that if a bride eats truma before nisuin, and the groom finds such a defect at the time of nisuin, they start living together, and the marriage is found to have been invalid, it would emerge that she had eaten truma illegally. Meaning, when does this guy find out about the defect? After they're married. After they're married. They're fully married, they're intimate. At that point, he can find out about this physical defect. And when he does that, he's going to claim, hey, this marriage was a mistake. Now, if it comes out that she was eating truma before the nisuin, she was eating truma when she was an arusa, because the 12 months had passed, and he's supporting her, so we say she can eat truma, and she was eating truma, but the defect was found later after she went to the chuppah, then it comes out that retroactively she ate truma that she wasn't allowed to, because retroactively the whole marriage is nullified. Therefore, to prevent this from happening, the later sages forbade a bride to eat truma until after nisuin. So the later sages were concerned with another concern. The first concern that the sages had regarding a arusa eating truma was she'll feed it to her family. For that, they said, after 12 months, when he has to support her, he separates her from the family, and therefore he can give her truma. But the later sages were concerned with another issue. The issue of that after marriage is completed, he's going to find a physical defect in her by which he can claim that he never would have married her if he would have known about it. Retroactively, that nullifies the marriage. And if she was eating truma while she was an arusa, and the marriage was nullified retroactively, she ate truma she wasn't allowed to. So in order to prevent any that kind of situation, the later sages decreed a woman, even after the 12 months of waiting, and he's not ready yet, and he's supporting her, nonetheless, she cannot eat truma until she actually goes to the chuppah. And by that time, when she goes to the chuppah, he'll have found the defect, but assumingly she'll find the defect before she ate any truma. Okay. Now, back to the Chofetz Chaim. All right. Now, but the Chofetz Chaim was talking about how even if two people were to tell someone that someone wants to harm him, and they're telling it to him in order to protect himself, and there was a concern, well, what if this guy kind of acts just beyond protecting himself? He starts doing something that can in some way break up the partnership, some or another, he can hurt the other person. And we said that if there are two people told him, so then if what he does would have followed what he could have done if these two people would have gone to rabbinical court, then we say there's no rechilas issue if that's what the guy does. But as the Chaim says, but at the end of the day, if he did act that way without going to Beis Din, so maybe it's not rechilas on your part, but at the end of the day, you're you're supporting a person to do something wrong. Because without going to Beis Din, he's not allowed to do it. The Matzui Klal Sheyedu Amasaper Me Atzman Metchila Kol Chalkei Adinim Sheshayach Beinyan Zeh Sheisharu Al Yedei Zeh Shemash Yase Imay Pleinei Adei Diburan Yasmay Kedin Torah. Another thing is that we're saying these two witnesses have to know that he's not going to do more than what would have been done if he went to Beis Din, if they went to Beis Din and they testified in Beis Din, and he would have acted based on what they say. Before they tell this to the person, they've got to figure that all out. That's not so simple to do. That means they have to know all the intricacies and all the details of the law to know beforehand that what he's going to do based on what they say could have been done through Beis Din. There's a lot to know in order to do that. So it's very uncommon. That this is all going to come together. Kain yesh lizar shalagalo shum inyan leish ativay la'asais ma'isa ba'asma libashus Beis Din. Therefore, at the end of the day, practically speaking, after the whole discussion of what possibly halachically can be permitted, at the end of the day, says the Chofetz Chaim, if you know that this person that you're going to tell him about, again, someone wants to harm him, if you know that he's going to go ahead and act in a way that he's going to act on his own, as we say, if all he's going to do is protect himself, all right, he can protect himself. But if now he's going to go beyond that, and he's going to act on what you're saying and do something to the guy, if you know that's what he's going to do, don't bother telling him, because you're risking the possibility of getting caught up in rechilas or in causing someone to do an aveira by acting on his own. Only if you know he's just going to protect himself from the person, avoid the person, protect himself, you can tell him. But if you're going to start based on what you say, he's going to get up and act and do something to the other person, then you should stay away from it all. Have a wonderful day and an easy and meaningful fast.
Thank you, Rabbi.